Welcome to Pick Up and Deliver, the podcast where I pick up my audio recorder when I head out for a walk and deliver an episode to you while I stroll around. I'm Brendan Riley. Well, good morning, listeners. I hope you're having a pleasant week. It is a lovely Tuesday morning here in suburban Chicago, July 1st. And so right before I head out of town for a few days, I'm recording an episode for you. I do have one more in the can. I'm going to try to get it set up so it will deploy later in the week. For those of my listeners in the United States, happy upcoming 4th of July. I hope your holiday week is pleasant and fulfilling. For those of you not in the United States, I hope you have a pleasant week as well. So let's jump right into it. It's the top of the stack episode, my favorite episode to record, even though probably for new listeners it's the least interesting because it's mostly statistics now. But I'm excited to tell you about it anyway. So at the beginning of June, I wrote something to the effect of, "This is going to be a great month for gaming. I can feel it." Well, premonitions were accurate. Good golly. I had played a lot of games this month. I think there were a couple of factors in it. One is that the kids and my wife both were done with work, as well as myself. I mean, I'm on my summer work schedule, but still working, but not going in every day. And so it was easier to find time to play. That was probably the main thing. I did go to a con, which I mentioned before, at someone's house. So that resulted in a bunch of gameplays in a short period of time. So, I mean, those are the two main things, but mostly we had a lot of time this month, so it was great. So, let's hear the stats. This month I played 105 games, or I had 105 plays of 63 different games. That puts my year total at 452 plays of 167 games. Whew, that's a good month right there. We had 7 play tests of our games, the Rattlebox games. My shelf of opportunity, I'm still not doing great on that one. I am down to 50 unplayed games, which is pretty good given that I've been higher. Remember, I started at 57. So one way to look at it is that I've played 7 new games this year and to take off of my shelf of shame. But the actuality is that I have added a lot of games. I have added 46 games, 46 games, something like that, to my collection this year. And my shelf of opportunity is still only 7. So, yikes. So that does speak to my attention to this. I have been trying to cool down on buying new games a bit, but then I had a couple shopping sprees a little bit with some extra scratch that came in, so I ended up getting quite a few new games. All right, so my most played game this month was Legacy of Dragonholt. I do recall, I believe, telling you that once we started playing that, my wife and I would certainly charge through that quite nicely, and that's kind of what happened. We started playing, and then we just played almost every night for a couple weeks, and we were done. I tried to sell it. We'll see if it actually has been sold. I haven't heard the results of the garage sale I participated in yet. If it did not make it, then I'll bring it to the next garage sale that I'm going to. Just keep going until I can get rid of it. All right, so let's do first plays. I think I mentioned most of these, but I'll give you a quick rundown. I played 51. As of May 31st, I had played 51 new to me games. By the end of June, I had played 70. So I played 19 new games this month. This was a big part of my just trying to chip away at that shelf of opportunity. I grabbed a bunch of new games and tried them out. So here, we'll run through it. Beyond Balderdash, I tried. I'd played Balderdash before, but I picked up Beyond Balderdash at a Goodwill, and I'd never actually tried it, so that was fun. Strike was a delightful little dice battle game that a friend of mine gave me. Excited to play that. Mystery Lister's Quiz Shootout. It's not a very good trivia game, but it's got a cool box, and my son likes it, so the $3 I paid for it was just fine. Apocrypha Adventure Card Game. I still am not done with this yet, but I have to say my first couple plays were not entirely encouraging. I'm going to give it a couple more tries, I think, but if it doesn't start getting rewarding well, that's going to go on the sell pile. That'll be a real disappointment because it was pretty expensive, and I was very excited by the theme, but the game is just not clicking for me. I know some people really like it, but not for me. There's a dog out barking at me. Okay, let's see. Welcome to Dino World. Welcome to Dino World's an interesting one. It's a roll and write, but it's much heavier than your standard roll and write game. It's got a lot to think about, and I've only played on the easy version. There's a hard version too. If you want to hear more about that, Shut Up and Sit Down did a really good discussion of it on their most recent podcast. The Quest for El Dorado was a really interesting game. It's a Reiner Knizia game. I think it was up for the Spiel a couple years ago. It's a deck building game where you're using the cards to move along this map. Really, really good. The Chameleon was a party game I got to play a bunch of times. Cartographers is a roll and write game. Pretty interesting, very enjoyable to play. I really like the interaction between the players. You have a little bit you get to do to somebody else, like when there's these villain cards that come up, you take the other person's pad and you add the villain to their pad. The thing that's weird about it though is, like, I don't really understand the theme. The idea is you're supposed to be this map maker, mapping out this territory for this kingdom. Then you get points for where things are. But that's a really weird theme. If you're like Slarta Bartfast, the planet crafting continent maker or fjord designer from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, that's one thing. But if you're just drawing maps of lands that exist already, how do you get to decide where the things are? But then again, this was just taught to us. I don't really know the theme. Maybe you are, in fact, at the behest of the Queen, crafting the ground you're going to be visiting or something. I don't know. The theme doesn't fit what you're doing as well as it could, but as a story, or as a game, it was pretty good. I enjoyed it a lot. That's Cartographers, a new roll and write. Oh, I didn't mention it's from, I think it's called Thunderworks Games, the company that makes Roll Player, and that's coming out soon. Maybe it came out at Origins or it's coming out at Gen Con. If you're in the Chicago area and you want to try it, we're going to have a Cartographers tournament at Toggle Top Day on Saturday, July 20th. So feel free to swing by for that. What else did I play? I played Everdell, which I talked about a little bit already. Really like that game. And Hellboy the board game was pretty good. I'm looking forward to playing that some more. And 20th Century, those 3 games you heard about already. Cryptid is an interesting little deduction game with amazing art on the cover and nowhere else. That part's pretty disappointing. I guess I kind of knew that from reviews, but that's a bummer. My son and I swung by a game shop and we got to try Goblet Gobblers, which is a tic-tac-toe variant made by Blue Orange. It's for children, but it's actually pretty interesting. It'd be a nice, 5-minute game or 10-minute game for anybody, because there's some strategy to it and a lot more to think about than you'd think. I played Tokyo Highway, which I really liked. Unfortunately, my family doesn't really like dexterity games, so I'm not going to pick it up. But any chance I get to play, I will enjoy it, because it's a neat little, it's a dexterity game where you're building this sort of crisscrossing, crazy highway using discs as columns and then like long, thin popsicle sticks as the roads. And then you put your cars on. You get to put a car on a road every time it goes over another road that doesn't already have a road going over it, or under a road that doesn't already have a road going under it. So you're constantly trying to weave your road back and forth, and you can't get points for going over your own road. You have to go over someone else's. So that was pretty neat. My wife picked up Lost Cities, which I was really excited about. We have Lost Cities, the board game, and I've always enjoyed it. I've heard good things about Lost Cities, the card game, but I've never given it a try. And so getting the opportunity to play it, turns out it's pretty good. Not surprising that this game that I keep hearing is really good. Usually when you hear about a game a bunch of times, it probably is. The Manhattan Project Energy Empire was an interesting worker placement game. I had mixed feelings on this one. It's an engine builder, and the engine building part didn't really click for me. I had in my head all these things I needed to do, but when it came time to it, I just kind of wasted my turns. So I did not have a very productive game of that, but I feel like there's a really interesting game there, so I'm not giving up on that one yet. You got to try Camel Up, which was fine. There's an interesting push your luck mechanism to it that makes for fun betting, and I can totally see how this would be a great game with beginners or people, but wasn't really my bag on the first play. Although the people I played with were quite pleasant. That was an enjoyable gameplay, even if it's probably not a game I would pick up. And finally, Royals is an interesting area control game. It's sort of like a Ticket to Ride level area control game, if that makes any sense. I guess Ticket to Ride is also kind of an area control game. But you are trying to control the houses of Europe over the course of 3 periods. And you get to control the House of Europe by playing these cards that you collect. And then if you want to take over a house someone has already taken over, then you have to play this other... Then you have to play this other kind of card. It's good. I'm not really sure why it would be a Dice Tower Essential, which it apparently is. But then again, I think that's just Tom says this is a good game, is what Dice Tower Essential means. I will say of the 3 Dice Tower Essential games I've played, Sheriff of Nottingham and Onitama, I like both of those better than Royals. But Royals was pretty good. So, yeah, that's Royals. That's a quick summary of the games that I played that were new to me this year. I did get to try a number of expansions. Following the lead of regular listener Chris Hickman, I've started tracking my expansions as well, although I keep them in a separate list from my Shelf of Opportunity because it would be too disheartening to add that many things back into my Shelf of Opportunity. So I'm keeping a separate list. I call it Expand Your Shelf, which I meant as a reference to the Parks and Rec Treat Yourself meme. But when I say expand your shelf, it sounds to me like Sean Connery telling me to expand my shelf. Anyway, as of the end of May, I had played 10 new expansions this year. By the end of June, I've now played 13. 3 I played were Altiplano the Traveler, Unlock Night of the Boogeyman, and my wife and I cracked open Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, Carlton House, and Queen's Park. For those of you who've played Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, the Carlton House box comes with a couple different things that change things up slightly, and so far I really enjoyed that. We've only played the one mystery, but I'm sure we'll get through those soon. I played 4 out of the Dust games this month, which is more than my usual. I played Forbidden Desert, which I hadn't played in a while, but busted that out. That's a good game. It's an interesting little co-op, easy to play, not too challenging. Although, I mean, if you play on really hard, it's challenging, but like easy to explain, fun to play, moderate level of challenging. Did we win? No, we lost. So I say not too challenging, but we lost. Yeah, it was one of those things where a couple quick flips of the card and someone ran out of water. So that was a bummer, but really fun. I also played Power Grid, which I hadn't played in 3 years, 8 months, and 17 days. I really like Power Grid. My wife did not, so I'm not sure I'm going to keep my copy because Toggle has a copy, and it's a fairly well-regarded game that a lot of people have. If I'm not going to play it, maybe I'll donate it to my school's board game club. Donner Dinner Party is another one I played. I played that a year and 5 months ago. This is a social deduction game in the same realm as The Resistance or Secret Hitler. In this one, you are the Donner Party trapped in the mountains. But unlike the true story where people were just desperate and hungry, in this case, a couple of people are actually actively cannibals who like eating other people. And so the idea is each night you go out for a hunt and then everyone contributes to the pot and you all eat food. Sometimes the food is poisoned, in which case then someone dies and the cannibals are ahead. And you're trying to figure out which people are the cannibals. It's a standard style game. The big twist is that when you kick someone out, like in a game of Secret Hitler or Werewolf, they're out. In Donner Dinner Party, they remain as a ghost and they get to have sort of one intervention back at you. So that's funny. The last Out of the Dust game I played was Cosmic Encounter. Last time I played this was a little over 3 years ago as well. 3 years, 8 months, 29 days. So within 12 days of the last time I played Power Grid, actually. And I really liked the experience of playing Cosmic Encounter with my pals, but I don't like the game Cosmic Encounter. So I probably will be fine if I don't play it again for another 3 years. But I do have a pal who really likes it, so if he brings it out and I'm at game thing, I'm not gonna yuck his yum, as they say. All right, so the place I'm most pleased to report about are in my 10 for 10 challenges. We're really doing well in this. So on my hardcore challenge, now I will fully admit I got an 8-point bump in my hardcore challenge because my son decided he did not want to play Rampage anymore. I think I mentioned this before, but I probably have to use it as a caveat because I did swap in my alternate. On the Board Game Geek thread about hardcore challenges, they do have a thing where you can pick one alternate game in case one of your games fizzles, and that's what we did. My son picked Rampage. We played it twice, and I said, do you like it enough to keep it? And he said, yes, I do. And I said, do you like it enough to play it 8 times this year, 8 more times this year? And he said, I do not. So then I said, well, why don't we swap in the alternate then? And we can play Rampage when you feel like it, but we don't have to do it on a schedule. He said, sounds good. So that's what we did. The thing is, the alternate game that I had on there was Welcome To, and we'd already played well over 10 games of that. So we went from having 2 slots filled up to 10. So I'll try to remember not to tell that story again in case this is not the first time you're hearing it. I lose track of what I've said sometimes. But anyway, so as of today, my hardcore challenge is at 74% complete. I've done 8 plays of Betrayal Legacy, 7 of London 2nd Edition, 8 of Cerebria, 10 of Legacy of Dragonholt, 7 of Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, 10 of Sagrada, 6 of Gizmos, 2 of Kings of Air and Steam. That's going to be the white whale at the end of the year, I suspect. 6 of Rainbow Nights, and 10 plays of Welcome To. Actually, up to 12 plays of Welcome To, but those extra 2 don't really count. So that's my hardcore challenge. The normal challenge is one where I'm just sort of keeping track of games I've been playing and hopefully pushing 10 more games up into that 10 plays slot. Right now I'm tracking somewhere around 25 games for the normal challenge. A whole bunch of them are in the 5 and under plays range, but here's what I got. So my normal challenge is 85% complete. So I'm almost there on that one as well, even closer than on the hardcore. So completed games where we've got 10 plays are Quicks, Wingspan, Onirem, Codenames Duet, or Codenames Harry Potter. They're the same game with just different cards, so I count those as the same. So those 4 games, boom, done. And then I have 2 games at 9. That's Rakeholt and Eminent Domain are both at 9 plays this year. So that those will hopefully get through. A late comer just this month, we picked up Cryptid, but my son really likes it and the games are short. So we went from no plays last month of Cryptid to 8 plays this month. I suspect part of the reason my son likes it is because you use an app to set it up. You can use these cards, but it comes with an app. Or there's a website you can visit that will allow you to set it up, and my son really likes that, so that's kind of why he's been asking to play it. But it's pretty interesting. It's a fun little game. I will note that I do not count the gameplays where my wife or I screwed up a clue and ruined the game. I just mark those as non-plays. So I really would have, I guess, 11 plays that way. We've had 3 games ruined because we screwed up the clues, which is kind of a bummer, but it's one of those games where you can't know until you know that someone screwed up the game. Then you find out someone screwed up the game. So I also then, Terraforming Mars is at 7 plays, Number 9 is at 6 plays, and Anachrony is at 6 plays. So one thing as I think about next year, because it feels great to be this close to being done with my 10 for 10s. On the other hand, it doesn't feel 100% fantastic because I do have some solo plays in there. Particularly Terraforming Mars, Cerebria, and Anachrony are all games that I've played solo a few times. Gizmos once, and Welcome to once or twice. So it would be interesting, I think, to next year create a solo play 10 by 10 list in which I have a different set of games that I commit to playing 10 times each solo. And then I would also not count solo plays in my 10 for 10. I'm not sure whether I want to do that or not, but I might. And then finally, the last challenge I set for myself is my Great Designer Challenge for Vladimir Suchi games. We're up to 57% complete on that because I did get to play 20th Century this month. So I've now played 4 of the 7 games. So I'm hoping to play 3 more this year. Plus, I would really like to get the super game combining Last Will and Prodigal's Club together. All right, so acquisitions this month. I did acquire quite a few new games, even though I'm trying to chill things down a bit. On the expansion shelf, I acquired the Springboard for Welcome. Springboard sounds like something different than what I'm talking about. I acquired the alternate play board, alternate play map, alternate pad for the game Welcome to, and it's themed around the season of spring. So it's the spring pad. I acquired that, or it came in. Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, Carlton House in Queen's Park is a game I've been meaning to pick up, or an expansion I've been meaning to pick up. Ratus Pied Piper, unlock Night of the Boogeymen, and unlock Scheherazad's Last Tale. Of those new games that I picked, those new expansions that I picked up, I did already try out Carlton House and unlock Night of the Boogeymen, as I've already shared with you. So this brings us to the Shelf of Opportunity. I have a number of games that I picked up this month. In fact, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games would be Feudal and Civilization, which are 2 Avalon Hill bookshelf games that I found at a Goodwill. Carpe Diem, Ratus, Merchant of Venus, Cryptid, and Lost Cities. Of those, I got to play Carpe Diem, Cryptid, and Lost Cities. So this month I added 1 game to the Shelf of Opportunity, but I also played a bunch of them, as I've already shared with you. So like I said, my Shelf of Opportunity is down to 50 games. So overall, it's been a really fun month. We played a lot of games and got to spend a lot of time with good friends. My toggle schedule was a little uneven this month. It's going to be more so in July. There's a bunch of swim meets and other things that'll get in the way of some of the toggle events, but I'm looking forward to attending as many of those as I can. So I'm keen to hear from listeners, what games have you been playing this month? What is on the top of your stack? How did you do? I guess I didn't reveal my top of the stack for June. So the 3 top of the stack games plus 1 alternate were Apocrypha Adventure Card Game, Impulse, Welcome to Dino World, and my repeat was 20th Century. So again, my goal is to get 3 of those played each month, and I succeeded. I actually succeeded all 4 of those. So Impulse was the other one. I don't think I mentioned that yet. A Carl Chuddick game. Another solid design from the master of the multi-use cards. My daughter likes that more than any of the other ones so far, but I think that's because it's the newest one. We're going to bring it with us on the trip to Michigan this week, so I suspect we'll get some more plays out of that. And I've talked about those other ones a bit. So, just cleared off the shelf skillfully. So that leads to the shelf for next month. The shelf for next month is full of games I think I can get played this week. That would be the goal. One of them is a Steffenfeld game I picked up a couple months back called La Isla. This has a kind of Caribbean theme, but it looks like less complex than Carpe Diem, and my wife liked Carpe Diem, so perhaps it's going to turn out my wife is a Steffenfeld fan. I don't think I'll ever get her to play Aquasphere, but yeah, so that's, so first game is La Isla. Second game is Dread Curse, which is a sort of push your luck pirate game. It looks, I've heard decent reviews, and I got it on clearance, so not too expensive, but looks fun. So I'm hoping to break that out at the weekend, at the game weekend. My repeat is Julchen and the Monster, or Julken and the Monster. The German Julchen und die Monster would be the German title. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. But the English is Juliet and the Monsters. It's a light card game I got from Hong Kong when a friend visited there. Although it's a German game, the one I have is in Chinese, so I had to print the English rules off. It's goofy, but it's a cute little card game. So given that my wife liked Lost Cities, and she likes a number of other Kinesia games, I decided I would try to knock another Kinesia game off my shelf of opportunity. And that's Res Publica 2230 AD, or 2830 AD. So I grabbed that one as well. So those are the 4 new to me games that we're going to play this month. Both get them off the shelf of opportunity, and also because they're on the top of the stack. So I look forward to hearing from you listeners. What's on the top of your stack this month? What does your gaming prospects look like? Does it look like a good gaming month? Does it look like a month where you take off from gaming because you're going to be outside all the time, like a sensible person rather than Mr. Indoors like me? Do let me know. Pop over to Board Game Geek Guild 3269, and we look forward to hearing from you regarding that. I believe regular listener Chris has already started a thread there about that subject. So I look forward to seeing you there, and I hope your next walk is as pleasant as mine was. Thanks for joining me. Bye-bye. And what is the last game I picked for my shelf of opportunity? I did not have the foresight to write that down on my little paper you've heard crinkling throughout the podcast. I'm going to take a moment here and check Board Game Geek.
Brought to you by Rattlebox Games.